Hi everyone! Happy Catholic Schools Week! You might be wondering, how did you know that you were called to become a sister? When did you know that you were called to be a sister? What is it like to be a sister? It's wonderful, thank you very much. In this video, I would like to answer some of those questions by sharing bits and pieces of my vocation story, and I pray and hope that it will also help you to learn about, pray about, and hopefully one day discover your vocation and what God's will and plan is for you to one day become a great saint. My name is Sister Mary Gianna, and today I would like to share with you my vocation story. A vocation is a calling from God, and every single person in the universe has one. You have one, I have one, everyone who's anybody has a vocation. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful baby girl who was born on the 15th of February in the year 1994. That baby girl was me. And she was born to two very devout Catholic parents. So if I could say one thing about my parents in my early childhood, it would be that they raised my older brother and me in the faith, like hardcore. So I was in preschool. I was about 4 years old. And my mom took my dad, my older brother, and me to a convent. And a convent is a house where religious nuns live in community together. Well, we came in for Mass, and I saw all these ladies dressed in their habits, and I had never seen habits before. And so automatically, I was like to my mom, "Ma, why are those ladies dressed like that?" And my mom whispered to me, "They're married to Jesus." And I was like, "Married to Jesus? Oh, I want to marry Jesus when I grow up. Oh, dude, I love Jesus. I want to marry Jesus too." And so that was the first thing that I learned about sisters and nuns, and it resonated with me in my heart. After the Mass, we visited the sisters, and I just love them, love them, love them. They're so joyful, so loving, so sweet. And my first kindergarten teacher, when I went to the school by that convent, was actually also a sister. And I remember she told us that too, that she was married to Jesus and she wore a crucifix like this one. So in that same year, I had also met the 11 of the Immaculate Heart of Mary sisters. They were missionary sisters, and they came to visit my family in Missouri to enthrone our house with the hearts of Jesus and Mary. And so my family was consecrated to the two hearts in the year 2000. So the Lim sisters invited us to go to World Youth Day in Toronto, Canada, during the papacy of Pope John Paul II. And this was a gathering of all young people all over the world, and they would come together and pray together. It was so awesome. And so when we went to Canada, we actually visited my aunt. And at this time, I'm about 7 years old, and she had this tall bookshelf, and in this very tall bookcase, on the highest shelf was this bright yellow book. And I wanted to read that book, so I climbed this bookshelf and I got this yellow book. And the name of this book was The Picture Book of Saints. It was my first time reading about the saints, and I opened the book and I read it straight. I sat there for maybe 1 hour, 2 hours, and I found myself just being so moved by their lives and the radical things they did. They would care for the poor. They left everything they had to follow Jesus. A lot of them were priests and nuns. Some of them were in battle. Some of them fought in war. Some of them were soldiers, farmers, doctors. Some were just children. And a lot of them were martyrs, and they gave their entire life to Jesus. And I thought, this is so exciting. Like, they were like heroes. And I thought from that day, one day I am going to be a saint. And I want to be a sister, I think. And so I had those two desires growing in my heart. So there was one saint that really struck me, and her name was Saint Katherine Laboure. And I was so interested in her because I read that when she was 8 years old, she would walk for miles every day to go to daily Mass. And I was like, I'm 8 years old. I think I can do that. And that's challenging. That's something challenging that I want to do, to become a saint. And I told my mom, I was like, "Mom, did you know that you can go to Mass every day?" And she said, "Oh yeah, I go to Mass every morning when you guys are sleeping." And I was like, "Oh, no one told me that. Well, can you take me with you?" And then she was like, "If you want to, we can go every day together. If you wake up early at 6 and we can leave the house, can prepare for school, and you can come with me at 6:30 a.m. Mass at the convent." So, long story short, my family started going to daily mass every morning, if not in the afternoon, every day. And we would pray the rosary every night. We would pray it in the car. It was beautiful. So as I went through elementary school and middle school, I had lots of desires. I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to be a vet. I wanted to be an actress, dancer, singer. I wanted to be all these things because I love doing lots of things. There was a time I also wanted to be a soccer player. But throughout all those years, that thought of giving my whole life to Jesus never left me. I knew that the way that I loved Jesus was different from everything else. And I always had that thought, like, I'm going to be a nun. I'm going to be a sister. So when I was in high school, I went to Visitation Academy. It was an all-girls prep school. And I loved going to parties. I loved being with my friends. And this is the time that people kind of like started like dating, having relationships. But there was something in my heart that kind of like told me, like, I need to guard my heart and kind of like preserve myself. Because I knew that if I was in a relationship with somebody, like, I would have to give like itty bitty pieces of my heart to that person, spending time with them. I honestly had a lot of things going for me in high school. I had won the National Junior PGA Championship. I owned the latest set of X-Gem Callaway golf clubs. I own a BMW X5. I was going to the #1 Catholic private school in St. Louis, Visitation Academy, and I had just friends that were just amazing. But still, I felt like there was no thing or person that could satisfy my heart until I knew that I could fully belong to Jesus by doing his will and answering my vocation. And I was very open to marriage. I thought I could be happy if I was married to a man and if I had children, maybe 4 or 5, who knows, 6 children. But I thought that could never be enough for me. I thought I wanted to love more. I have an expansive heart. I just wanted to love a lot of people, a lot of kids. And I felt like that would have been through spiritual motherhood in religious life. So I actually wanted to try out religious life and enter the convent right after I graduated from high school. And I told my parents this from the time I was 15 all the way until my senior year. And when you tell your parents something like that, like, I think I want to be a nun, it's really cute when you're little, but when you get older and you're finally near that point, like going to college, getting a job, your parents kind of like change and they're kind of like, okay, are you sure you know what you're doing? My parents would be like, you, a sister? You can't be a sister. You can't even clean your room. Ouch. So when the time came closer to high school graduation, a lot of my friends and friends' parents and teachers, they were asking me, so what are you going to do after this? And I would share with them, honestly, I think I want to enter the convent and try out religious life and become a sister. And it didn't always end well, honestly. It was very shocking to people. They were like, oh. And I was like, I asked my parents, so, Mom, Dad, when can I try out religious life and see my vocation if I'm called to be a sister? And they said, well, why don't you go to college first, get your degree, experience the real world, go to medical school, finish, and then you can discern. And I said, oh, that's going to take a couple years. That's a while. I don't know if I can wait that long. So I went to St. Louis University and I double majored in biochemistry and biology. I was a pre-med student with a golf scholarship. And I, once again, was trying really hard to get good grades, trying to please my parents, please my professors. And I was trying to be happy, honestly be happy where I was and where I thought maybe this direction was going. But I couldn't stop thinking about becoming a sister. My heart was so restless. I just felt like there was more out there for me. And I kind of started feeling this emptiness. And so one day there was this sister named Sister Joseph Andrew, and she visited my college and she wanted to meet young girls who were discerning religious life. And so I met with this sister and she told me, I don't know why you're sad and confused because it seems like you know what God wants you to do. It seems like you know God's will for you. And I said, wait a minute, sister, how do I know that this is God's will to become a sister? How do I know it's not just my imagination and my own thinking? And this is something I've wanted since I was little, but how do I really know it's for me? And she said, why would God put all these thoughts in a young woman's mind if he didn't want her to be his bride? It's God who's putting these desires and thoughts in your heart and in your mind. The call comes from him. it's not coming from you, it's coming from the outside. That just cleared so many thoughts in my mind. It answered so many questions, and I walked out feeling like sold. Like, oh my goodness, I think I have to answer this call. I think God's been tugging at my heart all this time, and this is the time that I have to answer it. If it's not now, I don't know when. Sister Joseph Andrew asked me, where do you see yourself becoming a saint? And I could only think of the sisterhood. I could only think of religious life. So she invited me to visit her convent in Michigan. And so I went there, and in one of my adoration hours, I spent the whole hour there just looking at Jesus, and I was begging him, Lord, please tell me what you want. I just want to do your will. I don't want to be deceived, and I don't want to deceive myself. Please just make it clear to me. And at the very end of the hour, I heard these words spoken to me. I heard Christ saying to me, be crucified with me. And when I heard those words, I just cried and cried, because the call was so strong and so clear to me at that moment. It was like Jesus was saying to me, follow me. You're going to feel the weight of the cross. It's not going to feel like it fits, but it's authentic, and it'll entail sacrifice, pain, suffering, confusion, misunderstanding. But in all of it, I'm going to fulfill your heart, and I just want you for myself. That was like all in those words, be crucified with me. And so I knew what I had to do. And when I went home from that trip, my parents, it was like they had this 180 like conversion, and they were supportive of me. And they were like really open to allowing me to enter. So that very year, on the Feast of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, I entered the community of the Sisters of the Leaven of the Immaculate Heart of Mary on June 14, 2014, which was the Feast of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And my parents were there at the Mass. My brother was there, who was supportive of me the entire time, my whole life of me discerning religious life. And we took this picture together. You'll see that at the back there's a double rainbow, and that was like a God-given just blessing sign that this is where I want you to be. So I've been a limb sister for 7 years now. I took my first vows last year on September 12th, and although I'm a temporary profess, my intention is perpetual. And my intention is that I persevere in my vocation. Long story short, I fell in love with Jesus, and I could not get over him. I can tell you that there's nothing more exciting, more fulfilling, and more adventurous than the life I'm living now as a limb sister. Thank you for listening to my story. May God bless you and the Blessed Mother always keep you. If God is calling you to priesthood or religious life, he will pursue you. He will win your heart over. But it's up to you to give that ultimate yes to God.